Susan Pujals. So, so the first thing I wanted to say is, um, this is just an hour that we're going to spend with each other. So, I am lucky enough to get to spend it with you. So, it's going to be real easy. We're just going to tell the the viewers a little bit about the market, what's going on, and and like I say on most of my podcasts, this is selfish because I just want to hang out with you for the next hour. Might not go an hour, might go 15 minutes, it might go 30 minutes, but it can go into an hour because I think we're going to cover a little bit of ground when it comes to the topic of real estate because we've been doing it for a long time. So, now that I got that out of the way, uh, this is your first podcast, right? So, I want you to know that it's strictly about me wanting to hang out with you. So there's really nothing else to this. That is just me wanting to hang out with you. So with that being said, one of the first things that we decided we want to talk about are what are the things that we find that have changed in this industry since I started about 25 years ago, since you started about 15 years ago. And, you know, I'm just curious as to what's the first thing that comes to mind if I were to ask you what has evolved in the real estate industry over the course of when you saw me start 25 years ago, and then you jumped in 15 years ago. What have you seen in the real estate world? I'm curious.
Different cycles in the market, interest rates high, interest rates low, property, selling high, property, selling lower, a lot of paper. I think when I first started, I can't even imagine how much paper there was when you started to now we're completely paperless and so much technology. And I think it's a good thing, all the technology.
Yeah, it's nice that we don't have to just run around with these briefcases filled with paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when I started. It was two pages to a purchase agreement. I think we're up to 16 or 18 pages now. If you count all the disclosures, we're probably 40 to 50 pages.
Yes.
Of documents. So that's been dramatic change. But I also find that it's so much more streamlined in how we move that paper around. One thing that still concerns me is, when we send documents over to buyers or sellers over DocuSign, are they really reading those documents? That's always a concern of mine because I hear you on the phone, I see you over Zoom meetings, and you're a stickler for wanting to have a meeting to discuss in detail, line by line, what these documents say and what's in the fine print. I don't believe most people do that. I believe most people send out documents, ask the clients to sign them, and I think there's very little explanation.
Wow, yeah. That can get a little scary because, I think everybody knows, whether you're in the industry or not, that contracts are constantly changing, and so you want to know that your clients understand really what they're signing.
Yeah. No, I'm always impressed with how you handle that.
Thanks.
And you definitely don't take the easiest path, so that's always been something that's impressed me. So I'm curious as to what are other things that you think have changed in the industry since we've started. I think I can think of a lot.
I'd love to hear your perspective.
Well, definitely the biggest change for me and people that have been doing this for over a quarter of a century is the access to information. So back in the day, we were the gatekeepers to all the information. So a client needed to get a hold of an agent to find out if something was on the market, if it was available, if the agent had already seen it. There was a book that people used to just, the agents would thumb through, and the consumer would more than likely call off of a newspaper ad or call off of a real estate magazine ad. This was before we had computers and we can find things in the computer, but the internet was not being used then like it is used now. So you might find one or two photos on the internet, but it wasn't like now where there's showcases, there's virtual tours, there's Matterport, there's all these things where you can even access blueprints, dimensions on a property. Those things didn't exist, so the agents were the
go-to.
yeah, the go-to for all
Yeah.
this. And then, things like Zillow and Trulia and things like that came around, and they started to become almost better resources than even the MLS in most cases for realtors and definitely for the consumer. I was always a fan of the consumer knowing more. I believe that it made my job a lot easier when the consumer came in educated, because then my job was to be the instruments that we are in helping facilitate the transaction, and also helping facilitate the negotiating of said transaction. So I enjoy the process, and I know you do too, the process of getting somebody into a home and beating out 10 other offers. But from the listing side, I love getting 10 offers and getting my seller way over the asking price. That just gives me a lot of adrenaline, and I really get addicted to that, and I love the joy in people when they get $100,000 that they didn't even know they had.
Wow.
Or all of a sudden the commission was paid for because of what we were able to do in the way of negotiating.
Yeah.
You know?
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
so let's segue into like a different topic. Why do you think that sellers should sell now?
Well, I I can go back a few years, and even if I went pre-COVID, I was thinking that it was the right time to sell. I felt like it was the peak of a market. We'd been on a run for 10, 12 years pre-COVID of appreciation year after year after year, not looking like it was ever going to end. And for me, the minute it starts looking like it's never going to end is when I usually know it's going to end. It's cyclical. Real estate, as it comes up, it has to adjust, it has to correct, it has to drop. Pre-COVID, I thought we were there, and I was telling my clients who were asking me, what should I do? And I would always say, if you're thinking of selling now and selling in 2 to 3 years, I would venture to guess, if it was my transaction, I would probably venture to guess that now might be the time. But then COVID sort of made a fool out of me, and that market continued to climb aggressively. Then COVID calmed down, 3 years passed, and all of a sudden things start to level and taper. What I'm telling people is that in most cases, we haven't seen a dip in the market. There's still some appreciation happening. How much longer do you think it's going to continue to happen before there is some type of correction? Because a correction has always happened. And sometimes a correction comes with much more than a correction. It comes with a drop in the market. So I have to say that I'm still going to stick to the same thing. If you're thinking of selling now or selling in the next 2 to 3 years, I would imagine that it's now, because I don't forecast another pandemic. I hope that doesn't happen ever again, at least not in our lifetimes, in our grandkids' lifetime. But with all that being said, I think it's still a great time to sell, because you're still selling at the peak of some market. You're not selling in a depressed market. Now, you started in real estate during the short sales, and part of the reason I thought you were talking about paper and pushing paper is because the volume of paper and activities that came with handling a short sale. It was 5 times the work, compared to what we do now, and it was almost endearing that you just came into this business and all you wanted to do was help people. So the return on investment, on your time invested, you didn't even look at that, but you were paid probably 25% of what you make now for 5 times more work. It was true, right?
I think it was a great way to jump in and learn this business, because you really learned it all the way from the back end of how to do this business. And compassion is a big part of this, and if people are not compassionate and really care about the customer, if you don't, then this business shouldn't be for you.
I always say that people that last in this business are the ones that really care. The ones that don't, even though I've seen people come in and do really well right out of the gate, the ones that don't have the customers in mind all the way through and for life seem to fizzle.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
You've seen that before, where you see somebody, they're a rock star, and you're just going, God, it's amazing, they're doing amazing. And if you really don't care, that repeat and referral business
Yeah,
is really what holds longevity in this industry.
definitely. Yeah, it's definitely a people business, and you know, the trust and integrity, all of that goes such a long way. Trying to do the right thing, and it's not about how fast can you sell something. It's really about how do you protect your client? How do you protect your client? How do you get them the most money possible? How do you help them make good decisions so that there's no regrets later?
Well, I love those clients of yours that we met with the other day, both artists, and they want to move out of the area, and they want to go into this. They're doing it the other way around. They're going into retirement, and they want to leave this area and they want to go into the city. They're both classical musicians, and they want to slow down a little bit. And what I found interesting is, they're interviewing multiple agents, and we had the great privilege of meeting these people. And one of the things that we had to explain to them is be careful with the agent that comes in and tells you can get $1.5 million for your house.
Right.
When we clearly come in there, we clearly know that that's probably not going to happen. But there is a way in the marketing process of trying to give that property its best chance possible to get to that number, and it's not usually by starting at that number, and it's definitely not by cookie cutter marketing.
Right.
You definitely got to understand how to present a property, how to display a property, and how to get the consumer to want to come walk through the property. And I always say it's eyes on the property. The more eyes you get on the property, the more chances you have at lightning striking the same place multiple times. And I call those offers. And the fact that once we get multiple offers, then that's usually when you and I have a lot of fun leveraging the prices upward. And we've been successful at doing that a lot.
Yeah.
And this market's still doing that. So I find that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it seems like every property we've had that we've listed has gone multiple offers. Multiple offers if you price it appropriately.
Yeah.
But if you do take the listing and it's overpriced and it's not a real number, then you are going to chase the market. So I think it's our job to really, really educate the sellers. Sometimes there's things that we might say that maybe they're not happy about where we think the price might be, but I think if they listen and they do some of the things that we ask them to do to the property, it will go.
We get them there.
Yep, and we get them there.
Well,
yep.
we've even surprised ourselves.
Yeah,
definitely. We've even surprised ourselves. We're like, wow, we didn't know we'd get to where they want to get, but then we've surpassed that number, and it's all done by negotiating,
right,
and leveraging, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I think that requires experience. I think that requires doing that hundreds, if not thousands, of times. That also requires being trusted by the agents on the other side, by them knowing sort of what our style is, and knowing that we vet every single offer that comes in, and we vet every single buyer, and which lenders are working with. Do those lenders have traction and integrity and all that? So yeah, that's kind of part of the process.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk a little bit about buyers, because I think that there's a lot out there as far as, I think now is a great time to sell because there's a lack of inventory and we're still getting multiple offers. And I think there's a lot of information flying around out there. Is is it a good time for buyers to be in the market? And we kind of have been talking about this lately, the last week or so. I think it's still a good time to be a buyer in this market because I think there's so much creativity. There's so many ways that you can write an offer now where, you know, you can ask for seller credits. They have different loan programs. And even though some of the interest rates are high right now, you're able to buy the rates down. Maybe some people might want to do an adjustable. I know that there's a lot out there about adjustables, but in this market, maybe it is smart, depending on how long you want to keep your house, and then maybe segue into the whole like rent situation. I know there's a lot of buyers out there that say, "Oh, I can't afford to buy right now, so maybe I'll just rent." And I think you have a really good perspective on that, Jerry.
Well, I've always struggled with the paying rent model because it's the one thing that is not fixed. There is no busy agent.
Wow. That's so unprofessional.
Okay. Well, thank you. At least you didn't answer the call.
No.
Thank you. So for the consumer, I really like to see people get into a fixed situation. Adjustables are scary for most people unless you have a special situation where you're going to come in and move into something. You know you're going to live in it 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Do a 3-year fix or 5-year fix or something like that. That might work for you.
Yeah.
But it's not for everybody. And if you're wanting to stop the rent increase situation in your life, then a fixed rate mortgage is going to be better for you. There's again the benefits of it. People and a lot of renters don't understand the net benefit of owning a home versus paying rent. You get to deduct none of your rent, as to where you can deduct the interest rate on your mortgage. 100% of your interest rate on your mortgage is tax deductible. So that's just a huge incentive for a buyer to come in and pick something up. The challenge a lot of times is, for young buyers is the qualifying. So, as long as you have the income criteria, then there are, like you said, there are other programs outside of FHA, which is only 3.5% down.
Right.
You can go and there's a county proximity program. Sometimes the city has funds available. So our lenders know what programs are available, and we just want people to call in and just check it out. And here's the other thing. If somebody's not ready, one of the lenders that we work really well with, if somebody's credit is off a little bit or something like that, I love that mapping program that she has that will tell somebody exactly what they need to do to take their credit to the perfect credit score to get the preferred interest rate. And a consumer can go 6, 12, or 18 months through that process and all of a sudden get, A1 paper, get just a preferred loan where they get the better rate just by following that mapping. So I think the resources are out there. I think the person has to just want to
tap
start.
into it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Well, I know that we're going to do this every week. We'll talk about different topics and this was a lot of fun.
Which topic should we talk about next week? What do you think? Should we talk about what a seller should do to get their house ready for the market, or what we do to help a seller get their house ready for the market? Yeah,
I think those are two really good topics that we can talk about next week. Yeah,
every
Friday.
What will we talk about the week after that?
Wow, I don't know. I have to think about that one.
Maybe we can talk about credit reports and how to improve your credit.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I mean, we know some pretty cool. I mean, we took our credit from the high sixes to the low 8s by following that mapping in a matter of 45 to 60 days.
Right. Yeah. I had a client that did something similar, and because they weren't quite ready, and 30 days later they were ready. Yeah. It was that fast. Just tweaking and doing a couple of different things. So.
Well, the other thing I would ask the listeners and whoever's tapping into this is to maybe put on the comments box what you want us to talk about.
Yeah. I think that'd be fun.
Subscribe to the channel, hit a like. That'll give us more motivation to get out there every week and and just fill you with as much information as we have. Maybe we can even do a little bit of a mini tour and tell you what our favorite listings are for that week. We can incorporate whatever we have fun doing. We just incorporate it.
All right. Yeah, I like it. All right.
That wasn't an hour.
No, we got.
That wasn't
We do this.
That wasn't an hour.